Well, at least we know that he practices going to sleep fast too, as we can see here against Alexis Rocha. Now we're going to be talking about this clip quite a bit, but he definitely crumbled in this fight, and we're going to take a look at a couple of the reasons why Mr. Cobbs was going to sleep fast against Mr. Alexis Rocha. Now, here's the media workout for Roach and Cobbs here, and I want you to pay attention to one thing here. The most important thing is both of them are not fighting or training in the Southpaw stance, and Alexis Rocha is a Southpaw, and right away we can see that in the corner, in his training, he's not getting a look at a Southpaw opponent, okay? He's looking at an orthodox opponent, the body mechanics of an opponent, and when he practices his drills with his coach here, he's going to be practicing them and seeing targets for an orthodox opponent, okay? He's not going to be knowing where his targets are, and we're going to be talking about that in a second, but the first thing I want to draw eyes to is as soon as he starts getting pushed to the back half of his line here, right? Watch how he not slips. Watch how he interacts with his opponent's lead hand. Boom, slipping to the back foot, right? Getting to this little position here, a little bit to the back foot. And he used this position to some great effect in the fight, but also to some detriment. And we're going to talk about it a little bit why. But as we watch this training here, again here, shooting the jab here, and look at him pull back, right? A little bit of blocking, a little bit of hand up, right? But that was mostly because he's only tapping him on the forearm anyway. But notice him rock back to that back foot position-ish, right? Look at the position here. This is where he feels safe in the ring here, right? Now notice how his opponent, or his coach here, throws a right hand at him, okay? And he slips to the back foot. This is very important, okay? Because right now, he's getting a look at this move from the right angle, the correct angle, but from this angle, this is a right hand. From an orthodox opponent, this is a right hand. It's not a jab. Okay, but if his opponent is Southpaw, this is going to be a jab. And what happens if you slip to the back foot here? Well, the right hand always comes right after. Okay, and in this sequence here with Freddie Roach as an orthodox coach, his follow-up punch can only be a leaping right hand. Okay, or a leaping left hand. Okay, so like a Kovalev 1-2 and then a 1 with the pendulum, or a leaping left hook and he takes lead foot dominance. But with these angles, Cobbs is not getting a look at the kinds of punches that are going to be coming at him in the fight. So when he gets into this position in the fight, he feels so much more confident and safe than he actually winds up being. Okay, and we're going to be taking a look at some of those things, but first, we're going to take a look at, again here, blocking on the front foot here. Very, very dangerous. We're going to take a look at some of that stuff as well. But again, the idea that, now real quick, look at him where his head is when he's throwing his 1-2s, right? 1, 2, 3. Is there any head movement in any of that? Not really, right? He's kind of bop, bop, bop. He even asked him, do you want some power? Cobbs, you don't have power. You have zero power, okay? Your body mechanics are pretty good. You do most of the things kind of okay. And we're going to kind of breeze through this and watch this together, you guys, and then we're going to take a look at some clips and talk about them and kind of compare how they work in the fight. But notice the line that he's on with his head here. Notice when he throws this shot on the mitt here, he's not getting his head to the outside of his target. He's not really getting any weight. He's not crossing the line. He's not transferring his weight to the front foot. Now, real quick, if you guys are interested in learning how to use the pads, not only how to use the pads, but how to hit the pads as well. And as well as, like, not only learn the rules of hitting the pads and holding the pads, but to tell if somebody else is doing a good job and to be able to help them. But learning these rules and learning these ideas will help you so that you never find yourself in a position where someone holding pads for you is doing something to your detriment, because you'll understand the rules of combat, you'll understand the rules of boxing. For a limited time, if you guys want, right now, promo code 30, check it out, my Vimeo package for hitting the pads. And it has my personal favorite drills for teaching position 1 and position 2, and teaching weight distribution, weight management, understanding when you're on the front foot or the back foot, to make sure you don't wind up in positions like Cobbs where you have so little offense either in your position 1 or your position 2. You'll always understand where you are in your line. So check it out for a limited time with promo code 30, get 30% off. But they are all the drills that I would drill with Theo, my coach, or my boxing student, every day. We would drill these drills, and these are how he learned to get power and learned to get speed through these very, very simple drills. And I kept it very, very simple for him. But anyway, getting back to the film study here. And if you want, all my Vimeo packages are 30% off right now with promo code 30, except for the Fouts Boxing Combat System, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But another thing that's happening here, see how he's getting this lead foot dominance? His opponent takes this angle here, right? He's kind of stepping through, and then he's wind up pivoting on this front foot. Pivoting on the front foot is very, very bad as well. And because of the fact that Freddie Roach is in the orthodox position, he's not giving him the correct angles to see what's going to happen to him and what punches he needs to look out for when that happens. Now, he was ducking behind on the back foot against the rear hand, and now he's also doing it on the front hand. Okay, this is going to lead to him having some trouble getting to the front foot and knowing what attacks are going to be available to him. Now, I want to point out something here. He's learning right now to slip and counter and do these things, but again, he's learning to do them against a southpaw opponent in southpaw angles. Now, real quick, watch this move here. He's slipping the jab here and throwing the left hand to the chest. So he's countering the jab here, okay? But the orthodox jab doesn't come at this angle. Or the southpaw jab doesn't come at this angle when you're both southpaw, when you're in the closed stance, right? And again, he's training in the open stance here, not in the closed stance, which means that when he slips to the outside, he should be able to see the attack when he's slipping a jab. Now, we're going to do our first little break here because it's just the perfect time to kind of talk about it. Not this one here. This one. Not this one either. Which one was I looking for? Not this one either, but that's a good one. Coming up here. Well, I'll be damned. Maybe I don't even have it here. Okay, here it is. So, trying to slip the jab, all right? Now, real quick, in that video, Blair Cobbs does the correct slipping and come back with the left hook, and he says, he just taught me this, okay? He just taught me this. Number one, I want to ask, if he's been coaching with Blair Cobbs for 2 years, how is this the first time he's ever learned that, all right? And we're going to talk about that a little bit later as well. But here is Blair Cobbs trying to slip the jab, okay? Just like he was showed on the mitts. Just like he just learned. Here he is doing it in the ring. The only thing that's the problematic here is that he's slipping and he's not seeing the punch that he's trained to counter, right? It's coming at a different angle, and the punch that he would get to throw is at a different position as well, okay? So he moves actually, instead of countering, right? He's not seeing the right punch, slipping to the front foot. Now, the right punch right now would be the overhand right over the top of this very, very, very predictable jab, okay? Now, we see it all the time in orthodox fighters. When somebody can only step in with their punches like this, they don't have any setup, they don't have any rhythm or pace, any ability to set that move up, and they just jump in, they get knocked out. Kovalev did it over and over and over in his career. It was his bread and butter. Nobody wanted to fight him because nobody has any head movement. And Alexis Rocha here, a very similar problem. But it's not a problem against Blair Cobbs because he doesn't train to fight an orthodox jab, or rather a southpaw jab, or rather a closed stance jab. He practices working off a southpaw one, or an open stance jab. And he doesn't get enough looks at it to see that if he was able to land his rear hand over the top of this shot here over and over and over again, just like he practiced, just like he shows that he can do, as we do, we fight how we train, but he wouldn't have had so many problems being able to interact if he had seen that jab coming at him in training more. Now, we're going to take a couple of looks at here, but again, real quick, look at what position he winds up being in here. Pulling to the back foot, right? This is where he slips the jabs, and he slips the right hands of his opponent when he gets out of position, okay? But now he's in this position, and instead of his opponent being on the outside, right? Because normally when they're here, they have lead foot dominance, and they'd be in an orthodox position, and his head would be so far away from them, if they took a step, he could take a step off the line too, and just peel to the left. But because he's in the close stance, that lead leg is in the middle of his line now, and it means that he's in position to be hit all the time. Here, again, he's in a very similar position that he practices, where he's kind of toward the back foot here, and he just threw a right hand, which pulls his weight back to his back line. He doesn't realize that he's still in position to be hit by his opponent's hook, the same punch he's just trying to hit him with. Again, And this comes from the fact that he's not hitting the pads with someone who's teaching him how to hit someone against, the close stance. Now, we're going to take a couple of looks at a few other clips. Now, in those videos, okay, in that training, we do see quite a bit of him coming forward with the pendulum step, getting to the front foot, and attacking and setting up chains and movements and offense off of this pendulum step. Right hand or rear hand, left hand, pendulum. Back to the front foot. Now he's penduluming again into more offense. 1-2s. Pendulum. 1-1-2. Right? Jumping into all these attacks and very capable of going forward. And we're going to take a look at the training video again. But here he is again, getting pushed into this back foot position. Now, if Freddie Roach is in the southpaw or is in the open stance and he's in the orthodox, he's not going to be penduluming onto Blair Cobbs and putting him in this position over and over and over again. He's not going to be able to see that the left hand in this stance comes over the top of that move, that he's going to have that outside angle with that shoulder position, okay? And again, he got hit by this very, very, very basic 1-2 over and over again in the fight. And this is one of the first things that you learn, when fighting orthodox versus orthodox. Now, again, same position, right? He's getting caught in the same position, getting pendulumed on, and then timed right over the top, just over and over and over again. Just the most basic thing. Same thing again. And when he gets to that back foot position here, right? Where he made a lot of traps in this position, but he's not used to seeing his opponent be able to hit him with the right hand so close. Usually they have the outside angle, and he gets to see that shoulder coming forward, and he can see that shoulder feint timing. He can't even see it coming now because he's already in position to hit him. And again, all of this kind of stemming and can be solved simply by him training with someone who can hold the pads both ways. Now, another thing I want to touch on before we go back to the We Fight How We Train training video. Here he is jumping on the line. Remember how I was saying there's no head movement? But also he practices stepping on the line with his punch and then punching. But look at how he doesn't practice anything after, right? There's no craft after. It's just jump straight on the line. But another thing that he was practicing again, and to his detriment, is pivoting on the front foot. Now, as he gets trapped in the corner, okay, because of the fact that he doesn't practice with someone who's in the closed stance here, he doesn't have someone putting pressure and cutting off his angle, okay? Because his opponent normally has to take the outside angle, it allows him to circle to the right, or allows Blair Cobbs to circle to the left if he wants to. But now he has the right hand of Alexis Rocha cutting that off, and he doesn't have that angle available to him because he doesn't get to train it, because Freddie Roach can't switch to the southpaw and put pressure on him and pendulum on him and force him to move off of his line with his padding work, right? So he's forced to do it from an open stance version, where in this position he would be taking lead foot dominance, slipping to the front foot, and then being able to pivot off the line. But again, he doesn't get to see this punch, he doesn't get to interact with it in a way that allows him to see this enough to know that when he moves into this position, he's not going to be getting the look, he's not going to be getting the move that he thinks he is, and he winds up getting caught with that punch. And now again, after he gets caught with that punch, what happens? Pivot on the front foot, caught with the right hand, right through the guard. He gets in that same very similar position where he's leaning on the back foot and gets caught with another shot, okay? Not really moving his head, not really doing a lot of stuff. Okay, and then again, here he is trying to cross the line. Here he is going to pivot his weight on the front foot. Again, you can't do this move. It's not free, okay? And because he's practicing against Freddie Roach, who would be in the closed stance here, or in the open stance, his lead foot would be next to Blair Cobbs' lead foot, and if he could take that little step here to get to the outside angle, his body would be facing the other way, and he'd be able to slip off the line for free. But because that angle, he has to move into the right hand here, it's not free, because his weight's going to get stuck on that front foot, and now he's off balance, and now his weight is on the back foot here, and he has to transfer his weight where? To the front foot, to the right foot, and he has to try that pivot move again, and he gets caught again, pivoting on the front foot again. This is another very, very simple thing that you can weed out of your routine simply by having him hold the mitts in open stance, okay, or in a closed stance instead of open stance. Now, things we're going to pay attention to now that we looked at all the clips. Every time he throws a jab and he doesn't step off the line, there's that jab that he just got countered with, right? He's throwing it exactly how he learned, right? Step, and then look at how he's slipping off to the back foot when that attack comes, right? Blocking punches, very difficult to teach someone to block punches. In the closed stance, in the open stance, okay? So a lot of this training is just not going to hold through. And there are clips in the video of him trying to block stuff on the front foot from that angle, but not knowing where his head's supposed to be, again, because he's not in the correct position. Freddie Roach, that is. Now, again, stepping forward with the jab, step, a little bit of slipping to the front foot after, right? But where are Blair Cobbs' exits, right? Here he is exiting the line, pivoting on the front foot. Again, this is something that, here, sometimes it's going to work against a southpaw or in the open stance, right? Sometimes it's going to work. But the only reason it works is because you have a dominant position on your opponent. If they attack you when they're in that position, when you have the dominant position, you have a better right hook than they have. And you also have to enter the line. Like, look at from this position. If Freddie Roach makes an attack, his Blair Cobbs' right shoulder is over the top of his left shoulder. He can just come back to the back foot for free and throw a right hook. And it comes right over the top of Freddie's because he has the dominant position. Because he has the outside angle of the footwork, right? This is not the case if you slip to the front foot on somebody's line. Then you're just going to get uppercutted in the face, as we see Alexis Rocha does to Blair Cobbs in their fight, right? Something that would happen to Mike Tyson all the time, right? He would get to the front foot and people would try to uppercut him. Okay, again, a very, very common thing to happen. We're going to turn that down a little bit more. Again, slipping to the outside. Again, him slipping here, he's not seeing the angle, right? There's no punch that can come here, right? So he thinks he's got the dominant angle again, right? And he can't be hit. He thinks that he has the positional advantage, right? Now, again, look at him pivoting on the front foot again, right? Learning to do that. Practicing the slips again. Those moves don't translate directly into your fight again because he's not in the correct stance, right? They're not in the correct positions, right? Cobbs is not getting the correct looks, right? And that's what 90% of hitting the pads is supposed to be, is for you to get a look at what it's going to look like in front of your opponent. Now, again, stepping onto the line, but where's the defense, right? Boxing takes place in 3 parts, okay? 3 phases of combat. You got to step onto the line with your opponent, then you have to strike, and then you have to get off the line, right? You have to have good offensive responsibility, good offense, and then good defensive responsibility, okay? You got to layer your attacks, you got to layer your defense. And if you don't practice those things, you wind up kind of getting stuck on the line like Blair Cobbs. Now, again, practicing getting off the line, right, to the front foot here, pivoting under the line with that big pivot, right, or that big pendulum, but it's the outside angle again, pivoting on the front foot-ish, but not really practicing getting off the line, okay? And if he's practicing getting off the line and retreating, that's going to be more in line with setting traps on the back foot or setting traps with your pull counters, which he did have some decent ones in there where he would leave the line from that position and come back with the shot. He also got hit with a lot of shots trying to do that, again, because he didn't get to see how dangerous it is to pull counter in the closed stance. Well, I mean, it's always dangerous to pull counter because if your opponent's throwing 1-2s, right, you're gonna move off the line and then move back into the line of the other shot. Again, he didn't get to practice his slip counter where he just moves over the top of the jab because Freddie didn't give him the angle to see, to practice, right? Now, again, stepping straight in with the jab right there, the same jab that he would practice and get stuck on the line and get countered, right? Which would stop him from being able to throw that punch because he has no other setups, no other craft off of it, right? No, more importantly, boom, stick and move, right? No ability to get off the line because when he practices that jab, where was that jab? He stays there, right? And then he throws a combination, right? And we saw that didn't really work for him very well either. Now, this is the scene where he's going to say, he just taught me that move, slip and counter here. Okay. What have they been doing all this time, right? I think they've been working together for 2 years. How long did they know that they were fighting a southpaw, right? Now, I want to say that Blair Cobbs seems like someone, and I don't know too much about him. I guess he's been a lifelong fighter, right? He used to fight in Mexico. He said that Canelo used to be on his undercards, and all that stuff. which is like, you know, kind of funny. But it's not like he can't do all the moves. He just has to have someone to teach him what all the moves are and help him practice them, right? You don't just want to practice your slips and your pull counters and your slip counters and whatever every once in a while. You need to practice that shit every day because you need to fight and use that shit every day, okay? And someone who's just learning the slip counter and he's not even getting to learn to do it in the close stance for the fight that he needs, right? I mean, I wonder if he even got any Southpaw sparring. I mean, probably. They have tons of Southpaws at the Wildcard Gym. Like, just every fighter there's a Southpaw. But with Freddie Roach not being able to take those angles, he's not able to show him how to defend himself going backwards against a close stance opponent. And again, pivoting on the front foot with his defense, right? Here he is, pivoting on the front foot. That's what he's learning to do. And that's the kind of training that he was doing, right? Again, we fight exactly how we train because we never learn how to. And again, remember I said he's pretty decent going forward, right? He can do the moves. He has, you know, fast hands, and he can do the moves going forward. But he doesn't get to practice this move, right? This very athletic move forward, pendulum step here, right? There. He doesn't get to practice it going backwards, right? And if for someone who's not going to feint and probe and control the space, for someone who's going to be very reactionary, think like Rigondeaux. He has a good back foot position, right? A good back foot pendulum step. Here he is pivoting on the front foot again. Pivoting on the front foot again with the lead foot dominance, right? Again, sometimes you're going to get away with it just because you have lead foot dominance and you're in the better position. But Blair Cobbs, is he a 33-year-old prospect? I mean, he actually does this move in the fight too. Slip to the front foot, tries to do a body shot. He gets a little bit smothered. But again, the angles don't really work that way. And the next time he tries it, he gets hit by Roach, right? He gets hit with a hard shot. Anyway, trying a little bit of power shots there on the mitts. A little bit of defense there. Rolling off the line. Now, again, a lot of jabs, a lot of standing, right? A lot of sitting in front of his coach. Now, if you guys are interested in learning the absolute best ways to learn how to get on the line, what to do when you get there, and then how to get off the line, learn all the rules for combat, check out the Fouts Boxing Combat System. I have a pad work series that'll teach you how to hold the mitts for the pad work, teach you how to hit the mitts for the pad work, and then teach you how to do that stuff, and you can just transfer that stuff directly to the heavy bag and learn how to fight with the mitts, with these types of drills. And if you don't have a coach and you don't have someone, you can just learn the drills and do those drills on the heavy bag, and they will teach you how to fight as well. Okay, it's very, very, very comprehensive pad work series, as well as the absolute best ways to teach yourself how to shadow box and how to move and get yourself into what I like to call pendulum, or pendulum boxing, which is a highly momentum-driven pace and style of fighting where you're constantly moving and shifting and, you know, moving around and looking to set up big, 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 powerful shots off of your active guard. So if you want to learn how to do that in the absolute easiest, shortest, simplest way possible, okay? Very, very simple and broken down. That's going to teach you not to make the kinds of mistakes that Freddie Roach is making here, or that other coaches make. Like some fighters are good striking coaches, right? Like Canelo's coach is a good striking coach, right? Eddie Reynoso, good striking coach. Bivol's coach is a good boxing coach, right? They need to bring those skills together. And if you want to learn the best ways to do that, I've already figured it out. I've already solved it all. So check out the Fouts Boxing Combat System. And if not, if you want to check out any of the other stuff, everything else is 30% off right now with promo code 30. And yeah, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And thanks, guys.